Why do you think this organization, the World Tennis Association, is more willing to get into a standoff with Beijing than the NBA or the IOC, which, of course, oversees the Olympics, and Beijing's going to be hosting the Olympics early next year?
Well, I think a couple things. All pro sports leagues are struggling with how far do I go out and take a stand on political and social issues. And clearly, Steve Simon at the WTA, it's a sexual assault matter. It's an all-female professional sports league. To me, that's a central issue, and I admire them for taking the stand. And I think every situation and every league is slightly different. But look, it's a real stand. I mean, their championships were going to be played in China. They had a number of other events. They've pulled them back. I mean, that's the strongest statement I've seen to date.
Right, and they haven't even given any ground either. They've stuck to their guns in terms of saying no. Even after China released statements from Peng Shuai that she was okay, they said, we don't believe that she was saying that on her own free will.
Right, so they're sticking up for their values and things that they believe. And look, this is a human rights issue, and it's one that's close to home. And you have to admire them for taking a stand.
But the bigger question is, do professional sports leagues still need China? It used to be that the benefits of doing business in China outweighed the downside, and it was worth it. Is China still worth it?
Well, that's one of the things. There was a risk when you do business in a communist country that doesn't allow free speech. I think you saw that challenge with the NBA. It's more difficult now in a social media world, and it's a balancing act. And for some leagues and federations, China is going to be more important than others. Obviously, there's a huge consumer base, but the risk of doing business in a communist country that doesn't respect human rights and free speech, there are real business risks, and it played out for the NBA, and it's playing out today for the WTA. For the Olympics, we'll see how that evolves here in the next few months.
In your conversations with people in the sports industry, people who are in the know, do they see the WTA as an outlier or the beginning of a broader shift?
I spent today talking to a lot of leaders in sports and asking them, what are they thinking about? And this issue that we're talking about today at the highest levels is a question that everybody's struggling with. Mm-hmm. How far do I go on a social or human rights issue? What are my business interests, and how do I balance them? And I think it's something that people are struggling with right now.
Got it, got it. I mean, by kind of giving in, kowtowing to what the Chinese government wants, the different sports leagues, and the NBA felt this, risks angering fans at home and abroad, maybe in Europe, for instance. We know China is a huge market, 1.2 billion consumers. It's kind of the holy grail for any business, any industry. But isn't the rest of the world still bigger? I mean, will sports leagues be left in a position where they have to pick one versus the other?
Right.
They're trying to have it both ways, right?
So they're trying to have it both ways, and you may not be able to do it. And I think it comes back down to your core values. What do you believe in? Human rights, sexual assault, clearly a big issue for the WTA. They're making a stand. And I mean, you see this in other social issues, political issues. It's like any other business. Where do you stand on these issues? And I think it's a case-by-case situation, and it wasn't this way years ago, right? Sports was always something that brought everyone together. But now some of these very divisive issues are making sports having to take a stand, which does come with risk as well. So there's a risk of doing something, but there's also a risk of doing something. And then, in a very sensitive situation, when you say nothing, you're actually saying something. And this is the line that all these leagues and federations are going to straddle. And of course, it's amplified by social media as well. So I think this is a challenge that's going to evolve for all leagues moving forward.
Yeah, not taking action is the decision that you're making.
Right.
George, thank you so much. George Pyne is founder and CEO of Bruin Capital. From Bloomberg Quick Take, I'm Scarlett Fu.